Welcome everybody to this panel. It's really nice. I was having a really good discussion about D2C brands. So, hopefully we'll have a really good and interesting ideas from these guys. So just to kind of get kicked off, I'll let everybody kind of introduce themselves. I mean, Aman, let's start. If you could give just a 60-second introduction of yourself, and also just to kick it off, talk a little bit about, what's a major challenge you faced in building brand loyalty and a key strategy that's worked for you, maybe 60 to 90 seconds.
First of all, I'll introduce myself. My name is Aman Tekriwal, and I'm co-founder of Supertails.com. Supertails is a pet care platform where we are trying to solve for the pet care parenting problems, which happens on a day-to-day basis. And as you all know that the pet care industry in India is at a very very nascent stage, right, as compared to the West, right? And the major reason is that that most of the pet parents in West are either the second or a third time pet parent, right? Whereas the situation in India is completely reverse. Most of the people who are adopting pets in India are first time pet parent, right? So there is a very unique problem statement which India has when it comes to the pet care or pet parenting, and that is education. It, the knowledge and the information to become a better pet parent, which is a unique problem for this category, right? And hence, what we are trying to do at supertails.com is to solve this problem with our experts, which are vets and behaviorists and nutritionists, who are speaking to our customers on a day-to-day basis, which is helping one to establish trust with the customer, as well as it improves in the brand recall. So yeah.
Thanks, Aman. Let me move to you, Andrew. I mean, Sells and Sells is a great marketer. Quick introduction. Same question to you about customers.
Hi guys, thank you so much for this opportunity, first of all. My name is Andrew Leo, and I run this brand named as Athflex, which is a fitness clothing athleisure company. I started this like 4 years ago. Like this idea was very basic because like it was very hard to find clothes which were like having very high stretchability or like to easy wear for all the people, even inside or outside. But this comes from a very personal story, which is like back then, as I told to ma'am, right? I used to borrow clothes from my friends to wear on any parties or occasions because I was not able to afford, or my family was not able to afford that. That's where like the motivation was to do or create a collection or a brand of my own. So I started this while I was 19 years old, and here I am. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. Bharat, you're in a very interesting field of sustainable wear, so please, introduction and a little bit about your customers.
Namaste everyone. I'm Bharat Ranka, the co-founder of Ethik. We're India's first premium non-leather fashion brand for men. Founded in 2013, Ethik started off with a store in Church Street in Bangalore. It was founded by my partner, Pankaj Khabia. And we used to sell high-quality, cruelty-free non-leather shoes, belts, and wallets at the store. Around 2019, we pivoted to going completely online. And since then, we've been running our e-commerce portal, ethiconline.com. That sells PETA-approved vegan products that are completely cruelty-free, and they've been endorsed by some of the most conscious consumers we have here in India. We're a small but a very like-minded community, and we're very, very enthusiastic and passionate about taking the cause of non-leather fashion across the world. Thank you.
So Vinayak, let's move to you. A platform that everybody uses, WhatsApp. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your customers.
Sure. So our journey, by the way, I'm Vinayak. I run a company called BiteSpeed, and we're essentially this WhatsApp-first revenue generation platform for e-commerce C2C brands. Our journey goes back, I think, about a little over 3 years. I think 2019 is when we were, and like my sort of, I would say, relationship to the problem isn't as personal as a lot of D2C brands here. For us, it was more about, hey, like, what's changing in the world and can we be part of that. So I think 3 years back is when we could see that in the US, Shopify had become huge. And in India, we were just seeing D2C as a category shaping up, quite a few brands launching. One thing we found to be something we learned from the US was that like most brands scaled on the back of running a lot of Facebook ads and then retaining those customers through email marketing. We could see that when it comes to a market like India, what's going to be different is how all of us are already very, very deep on these chat-based apps like WhatsApp or Instagram. And we try to be like fairly early there to sort of understand if we can actually help these brands have WhatsApp or Instagram or any of these chat-based channels as significant revenue channels. Like, can we actually help these brands reduce their customer acquisition cost by doing some retargeting on channels like WhatsApp? Can we help them increase their lifetime value by doing retention marketing? And then, of course, like over the course of these years, like our entire solutioning has also become broader. Like we've come to support things like commerce on WhatsApp, and there are still things that we continue to learn. But yeah, this is like what we do currently. Work with about 2,000 odd brands globally. A big part of those would be in India, some of which you might know, brands like Lavi, Smooth, Fool. But yeah, that's about us.
Thanks. So, Aman, let me start with you. You know, customer expectations are at an all-time high. Whether you talk about speed, you talk about transparency, you talk about service levels. How do you make your customer feel special, you know, compared to your competitors?
So I think the endeavor first of all is to create a delightful experience throughout the journey. Right? Whether when the customer is first of all looking for a solution, or when the customer has decided to come to our platform and make a transaction, or the post-sale experience, right? Whether in terms of packaging, delivery, or what we also do is that our entire expert team when they speak to the customers and solve their problem basically. So the idea is to create memorable experiences at each of these occasions. So that's what we are trying to do currently. I think the problem happens when the customer becomes a code, then I think that is one thing which we constantly remind ourselves to think and to solve for that.
So, Andrew, let me ask you the same question. I mean, it's a busy space, right? Athletic leisure wear. Why should a customer come to you? How do you keep them? What do you do special for your own customer?
So if you ask me, like there are already a lot of clothing brands and it's a very tight market. So the main issue or what we do is it's the branding. It's mainly the branding. And if, for example, branding bahut acha hai, everything is good, but still what happens when they purchase, the product should be on the top-notch level. So what we do is we make sure that we are already giving them the best quality, the highest quality product at an affordable price. And at the same time, we also keep on, we also use BiteSpeed at the same time to do all the retainership and to also give them experience that they come to us the next time, right? It's not about the first purchase, it's about the 5th purchase or 10th purchase that we look forward to.
Okay.
I hope I answered the question.
Yeah. So Bharat, I mean, you're in a very kind of unique space in a sense, sustainable. Yeah. So how do you attract your customers? How do you retain them? I know it's a niche field, but even within that, there are more players coming in. So tell me a little bit about, what some of your retention and attraction strategies are for your customers.
So I think one of the first things which is a business advantage to us is that products like ours are actually being searched for. So that kind of makes it, I won't call it easy, but it just helps you skip those 2 steps to reach out to people, pull and push rather, right? So firstly, we do feel encouraged by the fact that our products are something that are being searched for from a generic category standpoint. Once they are on the journey with us, which is also discovering our brand, visiting our presence across online, also finding us at certain exhibitions and events where we'd like to display our products for people to get a touch and feel of things, right? So I think it is a very carefully curated journey but which is loaded with a lot of missteps. And I think we've afforded ourselves the luxury to make a lot of mistakes. When it comes to trying out different means of seeing what is the hook that is going to help me retain a customer, what is the hook that is going to encourage a customer to make a second or a third or a repeat purchase with me over a span of many years. And I think that is where somewhere we've hit upon the formula that is to really undercommit and over-deliver. And I think there are no two ways to it, that when you are being humble about what you're offering, and if upon using it, it was to exceed all expectations from a consumer standpoint, you're building a very, very strong case for customer retention, which will give you a massive lifetime transaction value. I'm sorry, this is not plain commerce for us either, but typically answering this question is that customer retention is something that you just discover along the way. I don't think there's a template to that. I hope that answers your question.
So Vinayak, I mean, a lot of people talk about using social media, data, analytics to kind of identify your customer, create personalized solutions for them. Coupled with that is kind of this whole thing about how invasive should you be in terms of their privacy. I don't want like 20 WhatsApp messages coming every time I go to buy something. It's like, give me your phone number. It's the first thing. How are you balancing that? Where are you drawing the line? How are some of the brands you're working with drawing that line?
Sure. In fact, I was just having this conversation with Aman a few minutes back. So I think it's very valid, right? Like, I think WhatsApp as a channel has come to a point where more and more brands are already on it. Like, you would be getting some of these messages. We had Diwali recently. You would have been bombarded with some or the other messages, right? So, so in terms of how we think about it, I think there has been a sort of gradual understanding of how to deal with it. Any marketing channel goes through this. It happened with email. It happened with WhatsApp. I think there are a couple of things that are sort of unique to WhatsApp as a channel and are being implemented well with brands we work with. One is a clear opt-in, opt-out, which is that anybody that you are reaching out to, there's a temptation to just like send a message to everybody on your database and make sure you reach everybody and like get them to purchase. But in reality, the people who want to purchase are still the same, like whether you reach out to 100,000 people or 10,000 people. So the idea is like, how do we be more relevant? A clear opt-in that, hey, we are going to reach out to you with this type of communication at this frequency. If you have that expectation setting, it helps you have like a more engaged subscriber list. In spite of that, when you do reach out to customers, making sure like we actually make it fairly mandatory for a lot of brands we work with, that there'll be like this clear stop button for people to opt out and for people to not report or mark your number as spam. So these are like some basic guidelines. Now, in terms of the relevance, which is the next step, I think segmentation plays a big role. Initially, what we saw a lot of brands doing was just like using these lists of phone numbers that you had and just sending them messages. Segmentation based on what they have done in the past. Are these people who've not been purchasing from you in the past year? Are these people who are your most, let's say, highest lifetime value customers? So segmentation basis that, and also basis what they purchased, right? If somebody bought a mobile phone, you're reaching out to them saying, hey, you should also check out this mobile cover. That's a relevant message to send. People would want to engage with it. That's another thing we've seen, relevance. And then it comes to the content itself. I think we have seen some brands being very, very creative there. We've seen brands doing some memes on WhatsApp. We've seen brands doing things like creating a founder video and sending it across. So because WhatsApp allows you that sort of a medium, right, being creative helps. And I think the last point, and this is something that's still evolving, is for us to actually look at WhatsApp as a conversational channel. When we send out a message on, let's say, an abandoned cart message, very standard use case, very simple way to do it is to say, hey, we're sending you this abandoned cart message, you didn't buy something on the website, and here's like a 5%, 10% discount for you. What if instead, we could actually ask customers why they did not buy? Was it the price? Was it the shipping cost? Were there some unanswered questions around the product? You can have those integrated as chatbots within the messages you're sending out, and then actually have your support team right there to respond to customers. So this is like making the marketing we are doing conversational is actually something that has really helped with the engagement rate. It's also makes the brand presence felt more deeply when this communication is happening. This is something that's fairly unique to WhatsApp or like any conversation channel for that matter. So these are some things that we are seeing across the board, but it's still evolving.
Thanks. So Andrew, you talked about, it's important to have not the first sale, but the fourth sale, the fifth sale with the customer. What sort of, are you using any specific tools, strategies to kind of keep your customer coming back? Obviously you mentioned kind of quality, but how are you getting data, learning more about your customers, tracking them, kind of making sure that they come back? Tell us a little bit about, what you may be doing there.
Yeah, so that, like for example, like there are a few tools that we use, right? But at the same time, like for example, we also have to see every categories have different lifespan. For example, if there is a protein powder brand, right? Everybody knows that, for example, egg box, if you're gonna buy a box, it's gonna last for 30 days. So they exactly know to push another message or a subscription model in the next 30 days, lifespan of the products. Even Supertails, right? They know that this packet of is gonna last for this time or that time. The same thing applies to clothing, like how frequently are they gonna buy, right? So we have, and then we set up messages, email marketings, and retargeting ads. Okay, mainly tools we use are for, like it's an omni-channel for email, SMS, WhatsApp, and I think I forgot the last one. Yes, the omni-channel one. That's it, nothing else like.
Okay. So Aman, I mean, like you said, your true customer is the pet versus kind of the person, but still ultimately you're selling to kind of the owner. How are you keeping track of, your customers, their likes, their dislikes? As you get new products, are you designing new products to kind of meet them? How are you getting this feedback loop?
So, Anju, what we are doing, maybe I'm reiterating the same thing again, that obviously in this, category, there is a huge gap of the information. So there's a concept called PRM, which is a pet relationship manager, right? So every time a customer comes to our platform, makes a transaction, a pet relationship manager is dedicated to that customer. Right? And that pet relationship manager, first of all, calls the customer, thank the customer for being associated with the Supertail, and tries to understand, what kind of challenges, issue the customer is facing while, during the pet parenting journey. Some of the information, basic information we already have as a part of the transaction, whether it is a dog parent or a cat parent, it's a tier 1 city or a tier 2 city, etc. And what we have seen, more than 60% of the customers are really willing to have that conversation. And when I say conversation, it means that the engagement is roughly more than 3 minutes. And in this process, we collect few more information from the customers. And if asked in the right manner and in the relevant manner, customer is willing to share those information like name of the pet or the birthday of the pet or whether the pet has been vaccinated properly or not, their respective preferences. Then after that, when we understand if the pet parent is having a particular challenge, we immediately connect that customer to our vets or a behavior expert or a nutritionist who have a further conversation with the customer to understand their need and how can we become relevant and part of their journey, right? And again, in this process, we collect roughly around 30 to 40 data fields, which we customize at our end and do the conversation communication using that through our analytics tool.
Okay. And Bharat, how are you kind of reaching out to your customers? Again, are you looking at customers based on social media or, these are the customers that are likely to be more amenable to buying sustainable footwear? How do you track all that? How are you finding new customers? Are there metrics like that? Are you looking at kind of social media? Tell us a little bit about, how you are finding who your right customers are, given that you have this product.
So I think there are two essential things that we're looking at as a brand and as a team. One is, of course, data, where you've got your analytics, you've got your heat maps, and based on that, you make certain communication flows where you're using certain tools to get in touch with people by WhatsApp, email, SMS, and various other means of communication. I think the second, and I think the more intricate aspect that we're looking at is the intuitiveness of our database, right? Just citing an example, more than 50% of our buyers come from a particular religious community. So, when you look at that as a data point, I think in terms of preparation of strategy, a lot of things also open up for you to earmark certain important events for that community or certain important occasions, or where is it in the country that you would find them all congregated at a place. Could you perhaps create some kind of display there? Could you reach out to them somewhere? Or could you also highlight the link between the practices of that community and what you as a brand endorse, right? So I think there are these two, and I'm sure that amongst all of us, this is what we essentially do, be it subconsciously. Like Aman rightly pointed out, when you get those 3 minutes with your consumer who's willing to tell you so much about the pet habits and the life journey that they're having as a pet parent, there's so much reading between the line that happens. And I think when we look at the data, it's not simply from a standpoint that, we've got to make sure that we are being seen by them 27 times, because that's the formula, right? Something that's seen about 27 times is very likely to register a recall and convert into a sale. But it is also about when you're going to reach them, where you're going to reach them. And I think that earmarking of the finer details is where better conversion also lies. So yeah, that's how it works for us. Yeah.
Interesting. So one follow-up. I mean, Aman mentioned that, pet owners are very kind of amenable to talking about their pets and their whole story. Do you find the same with your customers? Like you mentioned, religious kind of buy bent, but now we're getting into a little bit personal kind of information. How open are people about that? Sharing some of that. Now you're again skirting with the privacy and personal information.
So I mean, when it comes to this is a gray area. Like, I mean, to be very honest, but I don't think we. It's just a very natural alignment that is there. Our guiding principle was ahimsa. When Pankaj founded the brand in 2012, he actually did it with the intention of having a very good quality non-leather footwear brand. No angst against anyone doing leather for that matter. Yeah. But with Pankaj, he was pro non-leather. It was not anti-leather for him as a stance. So even when we speak to people, fundamentally, we're in the business of selling shoes. That is something that is going to be worn by a person for 7 to 8 hours a day. Yeah. So I think our questions, our interactions with our consumers are more on the lines of the comfort.
Yeah.
And not the ideology. I think what we are essentially trying to understand is how is the soul treating them, I mean, in terms of comfort, are they able to do long hours in our footwear for that matter? Or, we also take this kind of feedback when people will call us up and they'll be like, why aren't you all doing sandals? Because if you're doing shoes and it's non-leather, I would definitely pick up sandals if you were doing those as well. So I think that is what we pay attention to. And like I said earlier, I think it is just a very natural alignment and we intend to keep it that way. We do not manipulate it by, doing in-your-face campaigns or by pitting two ideologies against each other. That's something that's a complete no-brainer for us. We're never going to do that. So I think essentially the conversations are centered around improving the consumer experience, irrespective of who that consumer is. That's how it's for us.
Makes sense.
I would like to add,
please,
Anju here, that there is a very interesting event happened at Supertails against the same topic we are discussing on the privacy. So we generally send communication and we try to keep our communication personal. Like using the name of the customer or using the name of the pet. So once what happens that because of some error in the Excel sheet, the name of the customer got exchanged, right? So maybe Anju got a message saying hi Andrew.
Yeah.
and what we realized that immediately after that we were obviously nervous that it was sent to a large customer base. And our creative team came out with a very, a humorous and quirky solution for that. And they sent one more message after that stating that, hey, Anju, and this time it was correct, and, that it seems, Andrew's pet wanted to say hi, and there was some cross connection. And it became very engaging. So I think as far as the data and information is concerned, if collected and used in the right manner, in the relevant manner, I think the customers are fine with it. And one more test which can be done to ensure that there is no invasion is apply on yourself, right? If you yourself feel that that communication is not invasive,
Yeah.
I think that will work for the customer.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm glad you brought up this story because it leads me to my kind of next question. You know, we all learn from like our failures and mistakes, and we've been talking about how we're attracting and retaining customers. You know, I'll start with you, Vinayak. You know, what has been something, you know, that has been a stumbling block for you in your process as it relates to customers, you know, that you would call a failure, something that you've learned from in terms of dealing with customers?
I didn't get that completely. So a failure related to handling customers, right?
In terms of dealing with customers, building customer loyalty, attracting customers, something that didn't go the way you planned and something you've learned from to do it differently.
Got it. Okay. So we are a SaaS company, right? And I think most of our, like all of our revenue is recurring in nature, which means that every month we need to make sure we win back our customers every month. And I'll share an example here itself. Like Andrew here, Athflex, they had been a customer for a very long time, and we have this. We had been getting this feedback of like, hey, like you have a lot of features and like your product works, but you really need to work on the design, right? You really need to work on the UI, and it's not something that we were able to like really prioritize. So we have a habit of trying to do a lot, and like that sort of bites us a bit often. But I think this was one example where I think we had this conversation like maybe a few months back, and Andrew was like, "Hey, like what happened to your design? Did you actually change stuff around?" And I was like, just before this discussion, I'm like, "Hey, I have actually changed stuff around, like some of it. You should actually check it out." But I think that'll be one example.
Great. I mean, Aman, you gave one example. Any others you would like to share?
Yeah, I think the biggest learning in my I no I won't say it a failure. I think it was we realized it little later in our journey, and as you mentioned that it is a little evolving journey how to bring more focus in terms of ensuring that the customer experience is up right there. uh, what happens I keep telling this to Varun and Vineet, my other co-founders, कि यार अगली जब कंपनी बनाएंगे ना तो इस चीज की ध्यान day one से रहे, right? And which is basically when we start company, right, there are a lot of things which we particularly focus upon, right? And talking from an online business perspective, whether the website is looking sleek or not, whether the inventories are available, whether the digital marketing campaigns are set, and all small things. But as far as the customer experience and the retention part is concerned, that generally comes later, right? Because the first thing what you want to really focus upon is to acquire more customers, right? And as and when you see your retention dipping, that's when you realize कि अच्छा इसका भी कुछ करना है, right? And that's where the mistakes happen, because you have reached a scale where fixing some of those experiences becomes more costly, right? Because what you could have done on the day one, and which could have become the DNA of the company, it becomes sometimes difficult to solve it, at a time when you have scaled. So I would say that for example, I would say I mentioned about creating memorable experience at every touch point. Think of a small thing like order confirmation emailers, right? If I ask all of you that what is the one order confirmation mailer which you remember, right? I'm sure you get lots of them on a daily basis, but which stands out? There will be hardly anybody which stands out, and I believe that there is a great opportunity over such a small touch point, right? And like that, there are multiple touch points which are available. I think at Supertails also we have done some ordinary job at some of these touch points. It's a long journey, and we are working on improving the touch points and creating memorable experiences, throughout the journey.
Andrew, same question to you. Yes.
So while I started the brand, so what happened was like we had the mentality of कि सस्ते कपड़े होंगे तो ज़्यादा बिकेंगे. It will be easy to नहीं सस्ते चीज़ें जल्दी बेचना आसान है. So I started this. I launched a lot of products, and yes, so if you are selling for low price products, so the manufacturing cost would be less. So thus the quality of the product would be less, right? So what happened is, yes, we got scale, but I'm gonna go in a bit more into technical. So what happens like when you sell low priced products, your RTO percentage go high. What happens is like when RTO go high, तो आपका profit margin सब कुछ almost damage ही हो जाता है. ऐसा लगता है minus में ही जा रहे हैं हम पूरा का पूरा. So this kept going, but we were getting a lot of volumes. So I was like intrigued, like should I change it or not? I was standing, and at the same time I was making losses in the initial years. But one fine time, we decided, okay, I'm gonna stop this whole collection. I'm gonna launch a whole bunch of new collection at a high range, high price. But I was very scared to launch them because everybody was used to getting the products at 300, 400, 500 bucks, and I was about to launch products around 1,000, 1,500. It's almost double, right? So even like in the initial few time, what happened is like my Facebook campaigns were not giving the right ROAS. And the ROAS I was getting while I was selling a 500 rupees t-shirt and a 300 rupees stringer was like around 7.5 to 8, to be very technical, right? 8 ka ROAS is like crazy numbers, man. So I was scared कि यार ये चला जाएगा तो क्या करूँगा? 8 का ROAS, everybody dreams of 8 ROAS, 10 का ROAS back then. But I told कि I think this will like demean the brand. Na? Nobody's gonna value or nobody's gonna wear it, because at the same time my customer support team was banging their heads on the wall, answering all these problem issues of stitching, of all sort of problems were going on. So I took a leap. I thought I'm gonna stop this whole collection. I'm gonna do a sale where I'm gonna give like buy 2 products and get 3 products free, but I'm gonna clear all this dead stock, right? I did that, and then we did the whole new collection. Initial few time for a week or two, things didn't perform well, but we made sure to hype up or re-engage. But the last 20, 30,000 customers base that we had exactly didn't buy the product, the high value product. That's where I got to know that ki boss, ye audience alag hai, ye audience alag hai. And now the amount and the price that we sell on, the RTO ratios went down a lot. The customer are like well educated from tier 1, tier 2 cities, right? I think that was a fail. I won't say that's a failure part. That was like a relaunch of Athflex, I would say. But like it was successful and it is going good. So yeah, I hope this helped.
Yeah, so no, so good quality, right? Don't and meet expectations. Bharat, any key learning you could share, related to, customer engagement or work with customers?
So I think 2 things that really came back to bite us was, being in the industry that we are, we've lost a lot of customers simply because we did not have what they were asking for, or we told them we've got what you want, and then only to be out of stock in that, right? So I think for a small business, when you're still growing, when you do not have the benefits of scale, when you don't have endlessly deep pockets, I think that, and you don't strike that balance. I would just be very, very dumb to say that, you've got to find that balance, but it's not possible. Yeah. You can only spend so much on marketing. You can only build so many stocks. You can only hire X number of people on your team. So, what happened is, being into footwear, people expected us to do customizations where there is a lot of money, I must tell you all. Not that we've done any, but the sheer volume of customization inquiries that we get in terms of footwear, because you don't always have the style that people are looking for, and then they're going to send you a picture and they'll ask you, can you make this for me? Yeah. But then when you've not got a facility of your own, and then when your vision is also very different from doing these odd jobs of customization, that's not something that we could cater to. Then, understand one thing, you always pull in people by displaying your best sellers in your ads, right? Your best looking shoes or your best looking products. And then, of course, those are the ones that, get depleted the fastest.
Yeah.
And, when you've got people in your retargeting, remarketing funnel, and then, when you're reaching out to them for the third or the fourth time, and then when they land up on your website only to find that certain of the best styles are out of stock, I think you've lost that customer for good. And because that customer does not have anything to add to cart or abandon the checkout, you don't even get that data. Yeah. So, the only thing that can perhaps come to your rescue are the heat maps, which tell you which is that area where people are really bouncing off from. But I think these, to be very honest, I don't think we will be able to solve these problems till we have that scale that we're looking at, Perhaps a facility that is going to manufacture customized styles at our whims and fancies, and perhaps at a point where I stock in before I stock out. So I think that's only a sum total of the scale that we'll be operating at. But those have been massive learnings because that has always pulled us back a few steps time and again. Yeah.
No, I think that's a great point, especially for people kind of starting off. I mean, I think customization is something that always comes back to bite you. I mean, how many times does it come back to bite you, even in like software customizations, right? You go in and people want those things. I think that's a really important point. Another area I want to touch on with you people, it's like one thing to have, this customer-centric approach in your marketing. But I believe it's really important to drive a customer-centric approach in your culture, right? I mean, if that is your brand and you want to do that, how are you doing that? I mean, within your own organization? I'll start with you, Vinayak. How do you build that culture?
Sure. So I think for us, like very early on, we did take some decisions which, let's say, people would find crazy, and we continue to do that. One example would be each of our customers, every customer that we still onboard, we create a WhatsApp group with them. I'm currently on maybe I think 300 odd WhatsApp groups. And everyone on the team has started getting separate phone numbers. But it's something nobody else, any of our competitors have been able to do. And it's quite crazy. But I think that was one thing. Even internally, if somebody joins us, they would ask us. They do ask us that, hey, why do this, right? Generally in software companies, you would want to have there'll be a chat widget there, and that's it. Or there'll be an email support kind of address there, and that's it, right? But I think that's one example that gives us a lot of continuous feedback, so that helps us iterate on the product a lot better. And of course, it gives us gives customers the access they need, just in case something goes wrong, which it often does.
So, Aman, I mean, is this also something when you're hiring, new people, do you have a program? How do you build that in?
I'll give an analogy to the same problem, Anju.
Sure.
So, if you search, for books, right, with the keyword as marketing, right, you will get somewhere around 300,000 results. And if you search books again with the keyword as sales, you will get close to 1 million results. But if you search for the books for the keywords, let's say customer service, customer experience, combined all these words put together, you'll get 30,000 results. Right? So you can imagine the gap, first of all, in the mindset itself. And we know that, there is a huge, gap in the mindset and the thought process, first of all, itself. Most of the companies, have disproportionate budget for acquisition. They have the best talent and the resources for the acquisition, right? I think this is the first thing which we need to start with, right? That is, first of all, bring enough focus on this function of, providing a wow customer experience, right? And what can be done about that is, in my opinion, first of all, bring customer experience as a part of your daily communication internally, right? Maybe if, let's say, we speak 100 words in a day, I think revenue and growth will compromise 50 out of them, right? Maybe what we need to do is to replace it with the customer experience, right? Speak more internally about the customer experience, number one. Number two, I believe, we look at at your customer experience data, whether it is CSAT, NPS, a repeat broken down into various cohorts, build a habit of looking at that on a more frequent basis. Look at that on a daily basis, because when you look at it, you'll realize and you'll come up with lots of ideas to make it better. Third, every entrepreneur, I think they constantly think about making the customer experience better. कोई ये नहीं सोचता है कि मेरे को customer experience खराब करना है, right? So everybody thinks कि you have to make a better customer experience, and it is many times it is emotional, right? But those emotions have to be converted into actions, and most of the time we fail to do that, right? We just keep procrastinating that, and sometimes some of the good ideas also fails to get executed. I think these are some of the ways in which, in my opinion, the customer centricity, customer approach can be imbibed in the culture of the organization.
And Bharat, I mean, you're looking at it from two perspectives, right? Customer-centric and sustainability. Is that like a challenge in your organization?
And just to make sure that I've understood the question.
How are you driving that culture as you're growing your team?
Oh, of course. I mean, see, there's sustainability, like, we were having this discussion even before we met on this panel. There's this phrase called greenwashing that's taken center stage now, where all sustainable brands are just blurting out facts randomly without knowing what it means, without being 100% sure about, the impact their businesses could be having. But, it's a phrase that's called greenwashing your consumers, where you just talk about all the benefits you're making to the environment. But I think what we're trying to do at Ethik is being very, very clear about the shortcomings of our products as well. Like I was telling you, the shoes that we're making are made from microfiber, which is recycled PET, So it is not the most sustainable material out there, but what it works on is to make sure that animals need not be slaughtered for extracting that leather. At least what we call it is cruelty-free. Then what we do is we work on materials that are also eco-friendly and recyclable, right? So eventually, I think we're trying to be very honest in terms of setting expectations even within the team, because your team is your first customer, right? That's what they say.
Absolutely.
Before you go out there speaking to the audience in general, I think fundamentally what you realize is you cannot be greenwashing your own team. You teach them, you kind of brainwash them into blurting out facts on calls and messages with consumers. But if they just had the genuine answers about what a consumer is asking, I think there is a more amicable experience between the consumer and us, for that matter. Secondly, when it comes to managing the consumer perception even within the team, I think one time where you kind of tend to falter is every time you try to acquire customers through discounts. I think you start undervaluing your customers. The ones who actually paid the price they did to get your products, and then when I say you, I'm generalizing the industry in general, which includes us, of course. But then the ethos in the team starts resonating, and time and again you go to that fallback. What is the first thing you're going to do to acquire more customers? I'm going to drop prices. This is how I'm going to get on board. Now, when you've got something for that cheap, you're only going to value it so much.
Yeah.
So I think what we're trying to do, what we aspire to do, even in the long run, is to have consumers that are in sync with our positioning, with our brand, with our pricing, with our benefits, with our features. And I think we would be willing to go out of our way to make sure we're serving them best. And I think that's the ethos we're trying to inculcate in the team as well. So yeah, that's it.
Nice. Andrew, let me ask you a slightly different question. Tell me about, a brand or a D2C company that you think has done a really good job at customer personalization, either in your own experience or like something you've seen that would really bring out what we're trying to, talk about here.
So it's out of my niche, but I feel like a brand named as Mokobara, which is a luxury like bag or
Yeah.
yes, all. And at the same time, I would say whenever I shop a luxury product, luxury section or like market, like uh, I think they make sure to give an extraordinary experience. Though the products we as a manufacturer, I already know कि ये कितने का product है, but still we pay like for a t-shirt like 15,000, 30,000 for a t-shirt, right? So like that's what I feel like. I feel this luxury brands, in Indian brands में बोलूँगा like Mokobara, I like the way they have the customer centric stuff, and even their ads are very targeted and very niched out. Like them, right?
Okay. Bharat, same question. A specific example that, something that really stands out as, done a great job at customer personalization.
Like I said, Ethik was founded in 2012 and I got on board in 2018-19. And one of the first brands that became part of our almanac was March Tea. It's a t-shirt brand that I have never seen them hard sell. I mean, these are products that you wait for. I mean, they're making simple round neck t-shirts, all right? And I have used a few of them and I'm not too sure what's so great about their quality, to be very honest. But they are इतनी शिद्दत से बनाया उन्होंने website को, you really love being on that website, just doing nothing. Explore those features, just be on that website. It is so immersive, even in terms of their product photography, even in terms of their the way they explain their features and their benefits through video snippets, and the entire experience of the floating cart to the time you place your order. And then the fact, one thing that I love the most about Mashti is it's such an organic brand. They have got a community on Instagram, which is as good as a Royal Enfield community. Or, tell me about any of these cult brands that, to which people just get attracted like a magnet. And people really like showing off that they are in a March tee. And then they'll start wearing the March tee pajamas. Then they'll start wearing the March tee lounger shorts. And they'll start posting. I think that is the final validation. We have to call up people and tell them, how about you do a testimonial, right? How about you give us a Google review? How about you write something on a Facebook page? And then there's March Tea that is getting people to put on their products and do it voluntarily. And I don't think there is a bigger and a better and a more organic brand that is doing so well in this space than March Tea. So time and again, we go back to March Tea for getting inspired, time and again.
I think that's a great example. Aman?
The global context, and I'll give an example from the similar industry, a company called Chewy in US. I think they have done some phenomenal work. Their NPS is upward of 9, which we just dream of right now, right? And then obviously some of the very well-known examples, keep reading about them, is Zappos, Amazon. In the Indian context, I think Andrew told me, I even love that brand, Kubara. I don't know whether Indigo Airlines can be called as a D2C brand or not, but I think
you could, yeah. I mean, in terms of we're talking about customer experience and personalization, right? People who really stand out.
100%. And some of the new age brands like Dunzo, Zomato, they always surprise you with their communications. So love their approach. So yes, these are some of the brands. I think the different parts which is being solved. For example, Zomato and Dunzo have really solved for the communication part really well, right? Indigo has solved for the brand and the various the kind of experience they provide to the consumers really well. Same goes out for Amazon. So yeah, just some examples.
Vinayak?
I think I'll actually second Andrew on that, like Mokobara.
Really?
Yeah. So, and I think I'll say that because like Mokobara, incidentally, they are like one of our very early customers also. So Roman and all of these folks, like when they were just building up the brand, we've been working with them since then, and like been very thoughtful about every visual that goes out, whether it's email, it's WhatsApp, any other channel also. Like it's all tailored for that channel. So I think it'll be like Mokobara. I have been like it's something I would like share with people that hey, look at this, right? And people do brag about it, like it's brag-worthy. So yeah.
So going back specifically, the topic today is all about personalization. Love to get kind of your thoughts, each of you, on that. Starting with you, Vinayak. Is customer personalization the way to go now, and is that really? And do you see that staying? Do you see what is the next kind of trend in like keeping your customers? Is it going to be personalization, something else?
Yeah, sure. No, I think personalization is definitely here to stay. But I'll just share some things on like what we see being different, right? So when it comes to personalization, for a very, very long time, personalization has been, and like this might break a lot of hearts, but just hey Vinayak being the personalization when you're sending me a message is not personalization. Like that's something that's like already done enough, right? So I think that was like the first stage of personalization, and I would say most brands are still there. But then there has been this personalization that's been based on behaviors, which is I did this on the website, I browsed this product on the website, I bought this earlier, right? It's largely behavior based. And that is definitely like picking up, right? But I think the third part to it, right, and this is something that has like very recently become possible, is personalization. I think Aman also shared some things here on being able to understand that, okay, what is the name of your pet, right? So things which you cannot know from somebody's interaction with your brand on the website, but things which you would have to ask them for. Things like, let's say, if you're running a brand that sells to mothers and you're reaching out to them because you want to, let's say, sell some clothes for their kids. Now, it's very important for you to know what is the age of that kid when you're reaching out to them. In fact, just yesterday, we had this roundtable with Nishant, who's CMO at Wrong, and he had this very interesting idea around, hey, when you're asking for sizes, let's say I ask you for your size right now, and I recommend you some products right now. Let's say 6 months in or a year later, I ask you for your size again, it has dropped, right? What if I tell you, hey, congrats on losing that weight. Here are like 5 t-shirts which you can actually buy now. So I think that level of personalization could actually make things interesting, yeah.
Nice. Aman?
So completely no, agree, Vinayak, that just using the name, etc., is not personalization, I believe. So I'll give you again an interesting story from our end. So we sent.
Quite a storyteller.
Yes. So what happened that we sent a generic communication to our customers, and it looked more for a dog customer than a cat customer, right? And we got a feedback and response from the cat customers. They felt offended, right? Ki why are you sending something which is meant for a dog customer, right? And we took that feedback, and we now give, because the ratio of the dog and cat customers on our portal is like 60-40. So we have to give equal weightage now to the cat customers, right? So I think, and what Vinayak covered, that it has to go beyond the names. You have to come out with really conversational communication using personalization, and that's the way forward. So yes, I think, Anju, personalization is something, if used in the right manner, used effectively, can really help engage the customer and provide a better experience.
Bharat, you'd agree? Like, is it personalization something else we should be doing with customers, or is that really the focus of the next few years for D2C brands?
I think it has always been there.
Yeah.
Let's cite an example. If I was to refer everyone by their names, and if I were to refer to Andrew as hey, and not address him by his name, he would feel left out, right? Or anyone, that's how general psychology works. And I think what personalization allows you to do through all of these tools is to make people believe that your attention span is only for them right now. So when you reach out to someone like, hey Bharat, here's a coupon code for you, or hey Andrew, here's an extra 10% off. I think, and that personalization should also be limited to just that, is what I feel. I don't think personalization can become, it cannot dictate your business for that matter. I think it's a value add. I think it is a genuine marketing model, but I do not think it can replace conventional sales techniques altogether. So like I said, communication has to be personalized. The product could be generalized, or it could be personalized depending on what niche are you playing in. So yeah, those are my 2 bits on that.
Anything to add, Andrew?
I think they already said it all.
Okay.
But I won't talk on the personalization of chat messaging on the omni-channel stuff. But I think in today's era, why new D2C brands are coming in are almost personalized to a niche. And that's how they are growing right now. You cannot be generalized in today's era. You cannot sell a product who's generalized. For example, today, Nike, Adidas are almost generalized, but they're in a niche, right? But for example, Athflex, like I would say Athflex is more oriented, start as a gym wear, like a fitness apparel wear, right? Like just like Gymshark in UK, US, there's a brand name, the Gymshark. It's the same like in India. Like Athflex sells products to the gym. So we exactly know which niche, which people to target, what sort of content is going to help them. This is exactly what is personalization, है ना? उनके लिए उनके जैसा उनके पसंद के कपड़े उनके लिए easy हो वैसी चीज़ बनाना बहुत important है, and that's how you will grow. That's how you will stand out. Once you grow, once you are at a scale, you can always launch more products, do whatever you want, and people will still buy your product. But initial to start, you should be personalized to a niche, if you ask me.
So I know we just have a few minutes left. I do have a few more questions, but I do want to give an opportunity if anybody in the audience has any questions, would like to ask questions. Please just raise your hand and a mic can come to you. I'm happy to keep going, but I'm sure, that I hope there's some questions out there. Don't be shy. Sorry? Not one. Wow, that's a quiet, shy audience. It's all about personalization. Nobody wants to ask a personal question. Okay, I'll keep going because this is like really, really interesting to me. Andrew, you just said, one thing, the way to go for D2C brands is, get personal, get to your target audience and really know who you're selling to. Vinayak, a strategy other than that you would say really is going to make D2C brands, new entrepreneurs are coming up, what is the thing they should look at to make a successful D2C business, moving forward?
Sure. So I don't run a D2C brand myself, but I think something I can share from the SaaS software world, right? Like here, like every, like we look at revenue on a very recurring basis, like it's a subscription, right? And some ideas from how we've built BiteSpeed have also sort of come from there. I think there are some things which SaaS businesses do, recurring businesses do, which could be applied to D2C. And I think one example is like a lot of the, let's say, website visitors that D2C brands get, right? Like it's very transient. You spend a ton of money, people come to your website, and most of them would bounce, like maybe 2% would convert. So I think recently we started thinking about this, that, hey, how can we convert these people who are coming to your website as more of an asset? Like, can you maybe, and we've done some stuff there, but let's say things like, hey, can you do a spin the wheel there? All of us love our discounts here in India. Can you do a spin the wheel there? People can opt in. They can become part of your database, and then you can reach out to them maybe like even once a month or once in a couple of months. Very soon, like not immediately, but let's say in 6 months, in 12 months, you have like a database of let's say 100,000, 200,000 people. Even if like 1,000, 2,000 people buy from you, that's like a revenue asset that you own. You know that, okay, every month I am going to get this percentage of my revenue just from the database that I own. That becomes recurring for you. You're not dependent on like ads anymore. So yeah, I think that will be something.
Makes sense. Aman, your advice?
One would definitely be a product market fit, which gets, which can be measured by how many customers in the initial phase particularly are really loving your product and your brand, and how many of them are coming back or platform to buy again and again. And obviously a very, very high focus from the day zero on ensuring that the retention metrics are upright there, and way to go and way to solve that is to obviously provide a superior experience.
Bharat, any thoughts? Anything you'd like to advise upcoming D2C entrepreneurs, how to keep your customer?
There's no advice, honestly. There's just probably do not make the same mistakes that we make. And I think there's a lot available in the public domain in general. But I think, a lot of D2C brands, they overestimate themselves in the short term and underestimate themselves in the long term. And I think losing sight of the bigger picture is, I think, something that is, we're too prone to that folly. And I think too many of us, we lose sight of what we eventually want to become for what we have become right now. Or, certain scenarios in the market dictate us to do things in a particular manner, be it the fad about discounts, right? Because, you know, we're always, as a D2C brand, you're fighting with the giants of e-commerce all the time. And then look at December, you've got end of reason, you've got end of season, you've got big billion and whatnot. And you tend to feel that pressure. Yeah. And you kind of bite the bait and you walk that same path that those guys are. But then you do forget that, you know, like he said, there's a personalized niche that just you've got. Yeah. You know, perhaps I don't need to worry about Amazon doing a 70% off on footwear because I am doing India's best non-leather footwear.
Great point.
So I may not need to go that way. And that's something that we've learned the hard way. So, you know, I think that's my 2 bits on that.
Bharat. Yeah. I think we're at time. I want to really thank the panelists. You know, I hope it was really as interesting for everybody we talked a lot about personalization. I mean, I was talking to Andrew. I mean, he immediately talked, you know, about his own personal experience. You know, that completely hooked me. Aman's been giving a lot of personal stories. You know, he's personalized the whole discussion. You know, Vinayak has talked a lot about, you know, what his own personal experience has been through his platform with customers, even though he himself is not a direct D2C. He deals with a lot of brands. And Bharat, you know, very specific in terms of, you know, what you're doing and, you know, very, very niche market. So thanks so much, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for being here.